Hi, I'm Kate with Everyday Savings with Kate. Can you guess what we're going to make today? Bread. Delicious smelling bread, and it's going to be for pennies. Let's see what we need. This recipe I got from a lovely woman named Christine. Her YouTube channel is FrugalFitMom. It's from her video, 126 meals for $30. Emergency Extreme Budget Grocery Haul. And it really inspired me. It's mid-April of 2020 and we all are staying at home. And some of us have lost our jobs, and I feel like this is more important than ever. This is what you're going to need. Flour, salt, and yeast, plus hot water from the tap. This is bread for pennies. I'm not doing any crazy add-ins. There's no sugar. The point of this is that you don't have to spend a lot of money. You're also going to need a bowl, a 1 cup measuring cup, and a half a teaspoon measuring teaspoon. And that's really all. Let's get started. This recipe is from Christine from FrugalFitMom, and mine calls for just a little bit more water. I think it has to do with where you are in the country and your humidity levels. I'll show you how much extra I add, but I'm not necessarily adding a specific amount. I'm trying to get a certain texture. So let's get started. You need flour, and you can purchase flour very inexpensively. This is from Kirkland. It's organic, unbleached, all-purpose flour. So you need 3 cups of flour. 1 teaspoon of salt. And I know that I said you only need a half teaspoon. Well, when I bake, I try and reduce the amount of dishes regardless of what it is. So you just need 2 of these. Because the yeast, you're going to need a half a teaspoon. 1, 2. Okay. So I was looking at this last night because I made bread last night, and I've got some to show you and to do the next step. So I was looking at this last night, and I was wondering how much is in one of these packets. That's just the packet you would get. They had 3 attached, and it's the active dry yeast. It says 1 packet is approximately 2 1/4 teaspoons. So this recipe only calls for half a teaspoon. So you can get 4 loaves of bread out of this little tiny packet. What a deal. And I mean, I don't think they're more than $2. I'll have to look. But if you want to buy a lot of yeast at one time, Costco has these really nice tins of a bunch of yeast, and it lasted a very long time. I used to bake a lot of bread before my husband and I got married, and then when we had our first child, I got a bread maker. Once you have all your dry ingredients together, go ahead and use a fork and just mix it all up. Okay, let me go get that hot water, and I'll show you what I mean by it's more important what the consistency is than how many cups of water I'm telling you to use. I just let the water run until it gets hot. So let's put in the first cup and see how the consistency looks. The recipe calls for 1.5 cups. Add it slowly and mix as you go. Let's go get that other 1/2 cup and see what the consistency looks like then. There. Now we have the right amount for what the recipe calls for. This is what, with my flour, my humidity, my climate, in my kitchen looks like with the correct amount. It needs to have a little more liquid to it. So let me get a little bit more and I'll show you what I mean. I have a whole nother cup in here, but I'm just gonna add a little bit at a time until I get the consistency I want. So about a quarter cup is what I've added. It's still clinging together. What I want has a little bit more water to it. So let's add another half a cup. I made 2 loaves of bread yesterday, and with the current climate and humidity, I needed an extra 2/3 cup. We are definitely getting there. And immediately you're gonna start seeing bubbles form. Still, I think it still needs a little bit, just like I did the last 2 breads, is that it needs just a little bit more. And you'll get the hang of this. Making bread is not about doing it right the first time. Making bread is about practicing over and over and over and over and trying new things and figuring out what works for you and what works for your climate. Ooh, this is right. So you can see that it's not super sticking together. So now that you have all the ingredients together, go ahead and get some plastic wrap and put it over it. Since this is a glass bowl, you won't need a rubber band. But I got this really nice $4 bowl at Freddy's, and I totally need another one. And the plastic wrap doesn't stick, so I put a rubber band around it. You'll see it in just a second. This is going to need 8 to 24 hours is what the recipe calls for. And I think doing this overnight and then baking the loaf of bread and starting the next one as you bake it, and then you can do another loaf in the evening, is a great idea to just turn them out. That's what I've been doing. So here is my loaf that I will cook tonight. This has been sitting out. I prepped this at like 11 last night. So let's take a look. It is bouncy. Oh, and it smells so good. So this is what it's gonna look like with all of those bubbles. Now, with a clean counter and clean hands, remember that flour I was telling you about that you needed to leave out? Take some of the flour and put it all over the counter. I just used some Dawn to clean my counters. Remember that foam soap video that I did? I'll link that at the bottom too. I just use that. So I spread it out just to make sure that the space is big enough. Then you take your bread and you dump it out. Since it's risen, it's done a lot of work and it needs to rest. So we are going to let this rest for 30 minutes. Woohoo! This is fun. I actually like this part. But make sure you cover your bread. Make sure you cover your bread with a clean towel. I'll see you in 30 minutes. Let's keep working on this bread. Preheat the oven with the baking dish inside at 450. So I'm going to start this and then I'm going to show you my baking dish. Christina does an excellent job of showing you this, and I really want you to go check out her video because I did not make 2 loaves of bread in 2 separate two separate dish types. She inspired me to go get a Dutch oven. I got this at a secondhand store for $5.50 because if you go and look at the really cute ones at Target, they're like $50 and I just can't afford that. But while we were there, I wanted to show you this. I got this one for $2.50. Isn't it cute? I'm totally gonna make some bread in there one day. Anyway, so you can do this with a glass Pyrex dish or you can do it with a Dutch oven. No matter what, you need a lid. And then put it in the oven and let it sit in there while it preheats. When it's done preheating, you can get it out. So let's check on our bread. So it's not sticking to there. It's a little too sticky. Then just add some extra flour. You're not going to need a ton. And just mix it up on your counter. And again, this is going to be one of those you can feel it. And I'll show you what you're looking for. Now, Christine doesn't really do any kneading or adding of flour. Maybe it's because I add the extra water to make sure it's the right consistency, but go check out her video. And you know, that's what I do a lot. When I'm trying to learn something, I check out multiple people's videos because we all learn differently, but we also all teach differently. And I think that's a really important thing to remember. Just because you have learned something from somebody and you didn't quite understand, it doesn't mean that you can't understand it. It just means that their teaching style and your learning style don't match up. So just don't over knead it, but just make it so that it's not sticky anymore. Get all those spots where it's sticking to your hand. Once you have the flour kneaded to the consistency you want, where it's not too terribly sticky in your hands, you want to form it into whatever shape you want it to be when it comes out of the oven. I try and go for round. Mine don't always come out round, but that's not a bad thing because it's going to taste great anyway. Now that the oven has preheated, we are going to very, very carefully take out the Dutch oven. And make sure you have somewhere to put it. I normally take it out and put it right next to the oven. That was really loud, wasn't it? And take off the lid and I put it on our griddle. And then very carefully pick up your dough. And put it in there. Put the lid on. In the oven. We're going to cook this for 30 minutes with the lid on. And then 15 minutes with the lid off. Very carefully take off the lid. And ooh, that looks good. Okay, now you're gonna leave it in there for 15 more minutes uncovered. Okay, it's been 15 minutes. Let's take a look. It smells amazing. Ooh. Look at that. I am going to try and take it out so you can see it better. Maybe not. Now I am. There we go. That looks so good. With a little butter. It's amazing. That looks delicious. Now, you need to wait for it to cool before you cut into it. Okay? As much as you want to, don't do it. Oh, you can hear it cracking a little. Thank you for joining me today. Go out there and try and make your own bread. You will love it. And it's just about practice. Okay. Well, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. You can still hear it cracking.